Stampers, it's Jackie Bolhuis with Klompen Stampers, stamping with you today from Zeeland, Michigan. I have a question. When you buy a brand new stamp set, how do you know where to even start stamping with it? Where do you go for your ideas? What kind of gets your creative juices going? Well, I want to share with you today some tips as to what I do when I get a brand new stamp set and what really helps me understand the stamp set and come up with a lot of ideas to use with it. So I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera down and I'm going to show you the stamp set I'm playing with today and give you some tricks for getting those juices going when you have a brand new stamp set, along with some really good tips I have to share as I make a card for you. So let's flip the camera around and see what we have. Today I want to show you some tips and tricks for not only stamping with the Varied Vases set, but show you what I do when I get a brand new stamp set to just kind of know what to start doing with it. Where do I start? Where do I start creating? Well, the very first thing I do is I open my catalog back up and I look at the samples that the Stampin' Up! Artists are sharing with us. So here they actually have 3 beautiful samples. This is generally my starting point to create with the stamp set. I like to just sit down and recreate these. Now sometimes I change the colors a bit or I change it a little bit, but this is what really gets me going. So here's the first card I made. You can see it right here on page 45. I changed it up a little bit, used different colors, different papers, but the whole idea really came from that card, as did this little hello one. Again, I changed the colors, I used a little bit different ribbon, but the whole idea of my card and my layout really came right out of the catalog. So that's really where step one. But then don't miss other samples in your catalog. I was flipping through and I found this one. And this card really, really grabbed my eye. I absolutely love the layout of this one. So again, I changed it up a little bit. Use some different colors, different designer series paper, but really my whole design and everything came right smack out of the catalog here. That's really the easiest way to make your first samples with a new stamp set. So I want to show you a few tips for making this card, and really you can make it in absolutely any color. I chose to use Grapefruit Grove as my focal color, primarily because this month in my Stamps in the Mail, we're using the stamp set, and the colors I'm using on the card kit for the Stamps in the Mail is all the 2018-2020 in colors. So I thought I would do that one as well as these other two. Now minus this light blue on here, but I just used the colors that are the same that we're using in Stamps in the Mail in the card kit. So let's put the catalog aside here. And like I said, I want to share a lot of tips with you, not only for making this card, but for just stamping with this stamp set and using this punch, because there's a couple tricks that will just make life so much easier for you. Now, this one's watercolored. Now, you don't have to watercolor with this stamp set because they have the fill-in images, the solid images, but I wanted a different look, so I wanted to watercolor. Plus, that was the idea I got out of the catalog. So I am using shimmery white cardstock. If you're going to watercolor, make sure you use shimmery white or the watercolor paper. You're going to need to use either a Stays-On pad, or I still have my old archival black stamp pad. If you have that one, you may use that one as well. The Memento pad will not work well for watercoloring because you need something that when it dries, it does not smear with that water. So if you're watercoloring, just be a little conscious of that. Now, for these vases, because I'm going to punch them out, I actually have just a 2-inch strip of scrap cardstock here. Because when we look at our punch here, we're able to punch all of these images out of here, but you want to be a little bit strategic as to where you're placing it to punch it so that you don't waste too much paper. So, great way to use up your scraps. Don't get all hung up about wasting paper, because you will waste some. But in order to kind of, maximize your paper, when you look at the punch upside down, which is the way we're going to punch, you'll notice, I guess you can see better when I put this in here, that all of these vases are essentially upside down. So I'm going to want to make sure, if I'm going to punch them, to stamp them upside down. So I like to go on this side here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to stamp that one. And then we can slide it in here. Turn around here and line it up in there and go ahead and punch it. Now, like I said, there's some waste, but it's just scrap anyway. So there's one, and then we can go ahead and we can do the next one. So we'll stamp that one upside down. And then we'll come in here and we'll punch this. Now this is just kind of punch tips, whether you're punching out ones that you've stamped the color in or if you're just outlining them or whatever, but it really does help to just have a strip and put it in there. Okay, so since we just have 2 of them done here, that's enough to give you the idea. So I want to show you how I watercolored them with my Stampin' pads here. Now with these new pads, which hopefully you've gotten your hands on and you've played with a little bit, you know, I did talk earlier when I first got them, they were a little hard to open, but I tell you what, the more you open them and close them, they just become super easy and they slide easy. Now, when you're going to watercolor, these are a little bit harder to squeeze to get ink onto that cover like we used to with the old pads. So all I do is I flip it upside down, I put it on my surface, and I press from the back and just press in the center there of the back, and that will give you ink on your lid there. So it's all ready for you to watercolor. Now with these, because I didn't want it to be a real solid image, you can just kind of see, and I am the first to admit I am not an artist. I am not great with watercoloring as far as all the technical and the shading and all of that. So I just kind of smear it on, I like to always say. But I found if I go ahead and I lay down a little bit of water first where I want that color to be, and then I'm going to pick up some ink from here and I just kind of dab it. And by dabbing it, you can see how it flows where I put that water already. Now, if I got too much on here, I can wipe it off on there or even on my hands or a paper towel. And then you can come back and dab a little more if you want it darker. But see how it just kind of flows? We'll go back to the original ones here. And you can see they're not filled in solid. You want to leave some white. You know, I tried to keep it mostly over here on the left. Don't go up all the top, you know, so it looks like, you know, the vase maybe has water in them. But that's all I did. We'll go ahead and do the second one. Just put some water on here first, and then just pick up this ink and just kind of dab it in there, and it will bleed around. If you need more water, give your aqua painter a little bit of a squeeze and just dab. And I think by dabbing, you're not getting those paintbrush marks, but it just gives you a nice soft look. So that's how I did the vases. Now for the layer that has the flowers stamped on them, we have I believe it's 3.5 by 3.25 piece. We're going to put it right there. And to stamp these images, I just started over here with the right hand one, and I stamped it, just kind of eyeballed where I wanted it. So we'll go right there. Gosh, I'm not stamping very good. That's okay. This is just showing you what we're doing. I'm not going to finish this card anyway. But you'll see now where this vase is going to go right there. Now our next one, we want to go about in the middle, so we can place this one there to kind of get an idea. You know what? I know why I'm not stamping very well. I don't have the piercing pad underneath. Whenever I stamp with the photopolymer stamps, the piercing pad will help you get a much better image because it gives you a little bit of cushion that the photopolymer stamps don't have, like the rubber mounted ones. So that's part of our problem. So there, we're gonna just hold that there, kind of eyeball where we want this next one to be, okay? And then we're gonna just kind of take this off and eyeball at the same time, and we'll go ahead and stamp that, give it some good pressure. Look at that, much, much better image. So now we know that little guy's going to end up there. And for the third one, which I guess we didn't even punch that one out. So let's just go ahead and, remember, I'm not going to complete this whole card. I'm just trying to give you a whole bunch of little tips. So this one, for the final one, is going to go there. Okay, we'll make believe that's stamped and colored. And the stem for the tulip is just this one straight line. Now, because I want my tulips kind of short, if I was to stamp this here, it would come down on the edge, and I don't want that. So we're going to do just a little simple masking. I'm going to just take a Post-it note here, and about where I want, we can come down about this far. Not the top of it, because we want the stem to be tucked under there, but we're going to go about so, and stick a piece of scrap paper there. So now, when I stamp these 2 tulips, and if you want them going in, you know, kind of a curve going a little bit different, you can switch them around. So we have our 2 tulips, and by masking it, it's not coming all the way down, but now we'll be able to put that vase there, and it looks like the tulips are coming out of there. So I did a couple of the leaves and I watercolored them and punched them out again. Just do that on your strip of scrap paper. For the tulip, I used just a strip of the Grapefruit Grove and I stamped right on here and then punched those out. These are all popped up with the little miniature dimensionals, just lots of dimension going there, which is what I really like. And then I watercolored our two images back here. And again, I'm going to just use my aqua painter and we'll pick up some ink. I want quite a bit of water here and I just dabbed. Okay. And okay, I'm not really trying to color in anything. We just kind of, I call it a messy watercolor look because, well, I guess I don't do anything messy, but I do things quick and easy. And that messy watercolor look just makes it quick and easy. So that's all I did to color that one. So I'll have all of the dimensions listed and all the products I use. Make sure that you check the description of the video so that you can get all of that information. And as always, any questions, ask me. But I hope all of these tips help you not only with this card, but also help you look at the catalog a little bit differently and more as a resource for getting stamping ideas. Well, I hope you liked this video today. There was a ton of tips packed in there. We talked primarily about this card and a lot of tips for putting it together. Even though I didn't do the whole card, putting together is the simple one. But then I really want you to understand using your catalog because it is so full of ideas for you to get started on your stamping. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and don't forget between July 5th and 10th you can participate in Stamps in the Mail and we're going to be using this very vase set and you're going to get a free card kit when you participate to make 6 cards, 3 of different designs. I've shown sneak peeks of those already for you, so if you missed it, go back and find that video. So again, let me know if I can help you in any way, if you need a Stampin' Up catalog or anything having to do with Stampin' Up. I would love to help you. So until I share another card with you, have a Stamp Happy day.